G'day, Jayden. I'm Jason. Nice to virtually meet you, mate. So today I'm going to go over your program, just explain how to do everything, and just make sure that you're kind of clued in with how to use the whole spreadsheet, just so there's no issues there. Hopefully it all makes sense. If it doesn't, just make sure to let me know, and if you've just got any questions, just shoot them through. So firstly, I've sent you this spreadsheet, and I note the email that you kind of emailed me off as a Hotmail account, so you might have to actually make a Gmail account in order to access the spreadsheet. I think there is a way around it, but I'm not sure. So, nonetheless, you should have an email in your emails about editing the sheet. So I'm just going to dive straight into it, mate. It just shouldn't take too long, just considering you have just purchased the program offer, and yeah, so we're just going to kind of basically go over how to use the spreadsheet. So in case you're wondering, this is like how I do my feedback for my week-to-week clients. So I just sit here and kind of talk to the computer, and usually I'll go over technique and things like that. But for the purpose of today, we're going to mainly go over the program. So first off, we'll go over all the tabs, and then I'll double back onto the program because that's probably the most important one. So first off, we just have the overview tab. This just has your 1RMs in it. Just basic information, really, nothing too serious there. So just kind of your overview, just to keep a track of things. And then the next one's the program tab. So this is where your 4 weeks of programming are. I'll go over that in a bit. We'll double back because that's probably the most important one. Next thing I have is the volume and intensity. So this is how basically a bar and line graph of how much volume and intensity you're doing. So the average percentage of your 1 rep max and your average your total volume for the week. So that'll pop up as you enter your weights and everything. So it'll auto-populate as you kind of progress through. So in order for this to work properly, you have to log everything appropriately. Otherwise, it will kind of go a bit askew. Otherwise, next one here is just like an old instructions tab. This is just kind of based off my old program, so it's not all relevant, but it does have some information on like how to use the spreadsheet if you do get stuck. So a lot of this isn't relevant. So this is like about check-ins and stuff, and some of the stuff I don't use anymore, like readiness. But nonetheless, it's got some stuff there in case you do get stuck. Should be able to give you some direction. And then you've got your RPE chart there as well. So hopefully you're familiar with that. I think you kind of mentioned you've done that with accessories before, I think. So we'll be using that quite a bit, but I'll explain that in a bit when we get to the program. Next one we've got is a recovery and nutrition tab. So obviously more so used as a monitoring tool for myself with my week-to-week clients, but nonetheless you can still track it, and it will help me give a bit of direction into the next 4 weeks of training. So basically you've just got like sessional RPE, sleep, stress, nutrition. We don't need this one. And then your macros, so your carb, protein, and fat, and then your body weight. So probably the most important ones to log are your body weight, sessional RPE, and if you're tracking it, then your calories as well. So sessional RPE is just how hard the session is, 1 to 10. So these are all 1 to 10 scales, I should add. Sleep is just how good you felt you slept out of 10. So, real subjective stuff. Stress is like external stresses outside of training, so any physical or mental stress and how that's sort of affecting you. So a 10 would be a high stress day, 1 would be very low stress. And then nutrition, 1 to 10 once more, and that's just basically how well you felt you ate in terms of like veggies, like quality of food, enough food. This is kind of another measure for nutrition if you're not logging this stuff here. So I would log that if you could. Give me a bit more direction, and especially like the sessional RPE for when I'm just building programs, that helps me to get a gauge of how hard you found each session. And then the body weight too. I know you're kind of a little bit underweight from your weight class. So I would definitely recommend trying to fill out that 83 kilos just throughout these next 9 weeks. Just going to help you with training, help you with recovery, and you're a reasonably lean guy anyway from what I can see, so no reason why you shouldn't be filling that out. And you mentioned you want to be competitive. It's probably the easiest way to make some progress is to just eat up a little bit, and it's going to help with overall recovery and performance as well. So yeah, that's kind of that. Once again, if you've got any questions, let me know on that. Next thing we have is our yearly planner. So this is just like an overview of the year and comps coming up, etc. So as you can sort of see here, we're going to roll it into 5-week blocks. So a 4-week training block, then a deload, and then the peak's going to be like a 5-week training peak. So just because of the way things rolled, well, sort of panned out with the novice comp that you want to do, that's just the best for now, and I feel at least. I think it works well because we can start slightly lower RPEs on week 1, so it allows for that. But nonetheless, 5 weeks is pretty normal. Usually 4 to 5 is what I do with most people, so it actually does work quite well. It says strength and peaking block, but these are just names I use to more so label how far out you are and give me an idea of what sort of intensities we need to be working at in absolute volumes. So more so I've based what I've chosen off what you've been doing currently, and just kind of going off that. So I'm just going to double back to your program and I'll sort of talk about what you have been doing. So from what I can see, a lot of like a pretty decent amount of volume. Not crazy, but like a lot of like 5x5, 4x4, 4x8, like really classic rep ranges with pretty like standard loading schemes. Not a lot of range, same straight weight throughout. So what we're going to do is implement a top set. This is pretty much my go-to, so it's more so my bias is towards having top sets, and we're going to implement some singles as well, but at pretty low RPEs. So I'll talk over that now. So firstly, we'll go over the training structure. So got day 1 is high bar squat and feet up bench. So a couple of variations is probably the other thing, is trying to bring in some variations of the main lifts. I think you have been doing a few like touch and go deadlifts, pause squats, pause deadlifts, I think, coming to the point, on week 5. But probably not a lot of variation for the bench, and haven't, as far as I can see, haven't done any high bar squatting for a while, and it's really one of my go-tos is high bar squatting. I think I like to see my athletes do a lot of it and at pretty high volumes as well. So sets of 7 on the high bar should make you nice and sore. Feet up. Sets of 6, so just feet up like on something in front of you, or feet on the bench, whatever way you want to do it, just to build general strength there really. And then probably the mixing, one of the bit of the mix up for you is the sumo deadlift. Now I kind of reviewed your lifts and your technique and everything, and I think you actually be quite successful pulling sumo. Now that's a guess of mine. It might not be. We'll see. Feel free to, if you really don't want to do the sumo deadlift, you can change the variation and choose anything from this drop down tab. But I would think you'd be good at giving it a crack at least, and start with some low RPEs and just build up and see how you go. But yeah, I think there's definitely potential there. I guess that's all I can really say. So day 2 is just a lower body day, so just sumo, and then a couple of lower body accessories. Pretty short, sharp day. And as we move on to day 3, so you've got, by the way, same training structure as you have been doing, which is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, Saturday, which I'm pretty sure it was, yeah. And then, so we'll go Wednesday will be, but I just leave them as day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, because just allows for a little bit of flexibility. So day 3 is your main squat day. So a single at a RP is 6, so pretty light single. Well, this is for week 1 at least. And then sets of 4 backed off for sets of 5. Let me make sure I got that right. One sec here, so yeah, just a single there, backed off for top set of 4, and then sets of 5, 9% off that. I'll talk about how that works in a sec. Then a 5x5 on bench, and a couple of pulling accessories. As we roll into day 4, your Friday session, this is going to be a just purely upper body day, so main bench day, so single, and then sets of 4, and then like upper body accessories, so you got some shoulders there, and a bit of arms to top it off. And then as we go to day 5, main deadlift day, so single, 6, sets of 4 there. You kind of see a bit of a common theme there, 4s and a single for your main work. It's just kind of what I see appropriate at the moment. And then you've got some 3 count bench, which is like ramping up to a top set of 8.5. So topped off with a quad dominant accessory. So I'll talk to you about how the program works. Basically just all those decisions there. I mean, I could go on all day about it, but the idea, what I wanted to do was kind of split up your work a little bit more. I know you've kind of been having 2 accessory days, and I mean that works very well and good, but I prefer to like spread the work across the week a little bit more, have you a bit fresher, and then I've kind of kept elements of that. So you've got like your day 2 and your day 4 is like a your lower body lift and lower body accessories, and then upper body lift, upper body accessories. So kind of elements of that, but not quite, so you're still getting in a main lift on that day as opposed to having a full accessory day. So yeah, I mean, it's just a guess really. I think it seems to make sense to me. The main thing that I can see, just like from what your notes say and everything, is that your intensities that you were working at tended to be a little bit hard. I mean, I'm looking at week 1 right now on my other screen here, and your note on the first week of deadlifts was really fucking hard. Like that was your note. Failed last set. So we don't really want to stay away from any sort of failure, any sort of mad grinds. So that's why I'm kind of working with a bit of RPE on some stuff, and you'll note a lot of it's kind of low intensity. So I think this 4 weeks really want to build you up nice and slow, get you doing some sub-maximalish work where you're kind of working hard but you're not getting anywhere near failure, so just not pushing you too hard and trying to just build appropriate technical volume. So yeah, what was I going to say? So we'll go over how the program works. So for example here, sets of 7 at an RPE of 6.5, so you just got to find whatever you feel is a 6.5. So 6.5 would be 3 reps in the tank and a little bit more load. So say you, I don't know, yeah, the loads are arbitrary, but you just have to kind of work your way up and have a guess. When you're trying to work to an RPE, like going to the easier side of the RPE to start with would be my recommendation, because then the idea has how all my programs work is you build up week to week. So as you can kind of see, it works at half an RPE every week, so you're working in the same rep ranges, but you're just adding more weight over the 4-week period. So let's say you do high bars, sets of 7, so 6.5 RPE, and that ends up to be about 110. Okay, so cool, 110, chuck it in. Cool, so we've got 7% back-offs, and you'll see they already auto-populate, so your back-offs are already put in there, and then they're supposed to be at a 5.5 RPE. And it also gives you a percentage of one rep max. Once you add the RPE, so let's say those that you land bang on is 6.5, cool, it'll also give you an estimated 1 rep max as well, so that's just like a estimation of where you're at in terms of your 1 rep max. It's not super accurate, and it gets less accurate the more reps you do. So like sets of 7 aren't going to give you a super accurate RPE, E1 RM, but nonetheless it's like a good monitoring tool to see how you are progressing, because if you do next week's like 112 and it's the same RPE, then your E1 RM will go up, so you can kind of use it as a monitoring tool. Well, that's how I like to use it, at least. Now, so that covers that loading scheme. The only other real loading scheme that I sort of have for you would be like here, where you've got a weight range. So 127.5 to 135. Basically, you're just trying to find whatever in that range or either end of that range falls as a 7 RPE. Once again, start pretty easy and build yourself up. And then the other one would be, the only other different one here is the ramping set. So basically you're just working up half an RP at a time. So it could be like 90, 92.5, 95, 100. So on your 3 count benches. So just trying to make each set harder, you're kind of working up to a top set, and that should fall at a higher RP than everything else pretty much. Now the last one would be accessories. So you'll note, probably you've seen already, all my accessories are done in categories. So you just choose the exercise you want in the category, and then you click on it, call it to a prone row, and then you just work towards the RPE. What I'll actually do, give me 1 second. So I just added the reps thing there, so you can, because I always give a rep range, just my template hasn't quite matched everything else that I've done. So usually you will go, so just find, basically choose a rep range that you want to do for the day. So okay, I'm going to do prone row sets of 10, RPE 7, so that might be like 70 kilos, cool, and then I did 10s, just so you know what reps you did for next week. And next week you want the week after, so it's going to be 7.5 RPE, so you might do, 11s or 12s at 70, or you can go 72.5 for 10s, whatever you feel appropriate. I don't monitor accessories as much. You can add like little things here and there if you really want, but just don't do too much that's overly fatiguing. I mean, the ones that I do have in there are there for a reason. I just don't really care too much if you're doing a prone row as opposed to a dumbbell row or whatever, which are all essentially the same movement, just done in a different fashion. So that's how the accessories work. Clicking this thing on your phone can be a bit of a hassle, so bear with me on that one. Google Sheets is a bit of a shitty app, so apologies there. So the next thing would be just noting, like when you do add a weight, so you need to add all your weights in. So let's say you go 110 like we said before. In order to get the next week's weight, you need to add it there. So like you'll see 112 to 115, so that's your rep range, so your load range for next week. And then once you add this one here, it'll add this week's stuff. So your set just says 2.5 because that's the increase, is 2.5 to 5. It says nothing to 5 because that's the range is 0 to 5. So basically the takeaway there is log your loads, log all your RPEs, and you should be fine. If you have any issues with the spreadsheet, I do, it happens quite a lot, just email me and I'll fix it up for you, because Google Sheets, like I said, sometimes does whack things. Like you'll see me just deleting that 102.5 there before. Don't know where that came from. So yeah, it happens. So just let me know and I've got no issues going and fixing it up for you. So progression wise, you'll note, like I said, pretty much everything goes up half an RP every week. Just choose the appropriate load. Some people get caught up in trying to hit that maximal load every week, so the 5 kilo increase every week. Just take what's appropriate, look at the RPE, try and hit that. Like I said, I think from your training, as far as I can see, just want to keep you in relatively, keep you more sub-maximal than you have been training. So we want everything to move smooth. With that being said, though, you do kind of want to push yourself from time to time, so just make smart decisions and you should be fine. So I think that pretty much covers it. I just wanted to touch on your lifting real quick, so we'll go over that. So here, this is the right thing. Excuse the noise. This will be loud. Now, first off, with your squat, there's not really a lot that I want to talk about. I think it's pretty solid as far as I can see. This is kind of that set. I'm assuming that you mentioned you probably had 3 in there. First rep is really good, good stable chest, good position. Second, you're probably a little bit cautious on the hole, probably cut it slightly high, so just make sure to rectify any of that sort of stuff. Yeah, depth, always. But movement-wise, pretty good. Be happy with it. Now, bench, main critique I have for you here is probably just a little bit too slow on the descent. I think you're gassing yourself a little bit by going so slow on the way down. I would like to see you bring it towards your chest with a bit more confidence. and you should theoretically, in my opinion, get a bit more out of it, be able to move a bit more weight because you're not gassing yourself so much on the way down. Now deadlift, like I said, I think you're a bit more built for a sumo, but we'll see. But other than that, not really a lot to critique there. I know you've pulled quite a bit more with straps, so obviously the main goal here will just be using 0 straps throughout the whole training block. So just getting better with your over under grip, because that's the important thing, right? Um, but yeah, technically pretty sound, like reasonable back position, no crazy or anything. Not that that's always bad, but it doesn't always help either. But yeah, good tension out of the bar, decent lock. It's all good. So technically not a lot to work on. So how this whole thing will work, mate, is I'll flick you through this, all right, and then I'll send you my bank account details as well, so you transfer over the 50, and then when you finish for the month, just let me know. Like, so you're gonna let me know when you finish all this training up, and then give me like a week or so notice, and then we can get stuck into the next block. Usually I don't use too much communication with this service because it's quite low level pay, but because it's block one, I'll, uh, I'll sort of, I'm happy to answer any questions you've got, or if you need any technique feedback, like say for example on the sumo, then I'm happy to answer it. So feel free to fire that stuff through just for now. But obviously I've got to kind of prioritize my clients who are paying for the weekly service, so bear with me a little bit in terms of getting back to you on time. So hopefully that covers everything, mate. Like I said, if you've got any questions, let me know, but I'll send you through my bank account details with this, and if you can transfer over that 50, that would be great. So yeah, hope all goes well, mate, and enjoy.